Wait, you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to my channel? Before this video starts, make sure to 1. Hit the subscribe button below to catch all Bears content right here on this podcast. 2. Hit the bell notification because you, my friend, are a diehard Bears fan. And 3. Like this video and tell all the Bears fans you know about the channel. Alright, that's better. Now that you're actually subscribed to the channel, make sure to bear down and enjoy this video.
You're listening to Keek on the Mic.
Keek on the Mic.
A podcast all about the Chicago Bears. This podcast starts right now.
Keek on the Mic.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Before I get this episode started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram page at Keek on the Mic, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. So as you can see, my dad is back with me for this episode of Keek on the Mic. How you doing, Dad?
Yes. Back in the building, baby.
You know, there was a great deal of responses just for my dad, not even about me. It was like, oh, we love your dad, blah, blah, blah. His head got kind of big last week.
I don't think my head got big. I just knew we were going to blow up. That's
You
all.
you were excited, though. You were excited for the large amount of response. I even got my first email, which was kind of different. But happy to have him back. Like I said, he is the reason, one of the sole reasons why I am a Bears fan today, so it's always a pleasure to have him on. So before we get into the main gist of this podcast, the Bears had a super busy week. And it's not the type of busy where it's like, oh, it was like the talk of the NFL. It was just like, only Bears fans knew what was actually going on. So they signed a bunch of rotational, I like to call them rotational backups. They just come in, play solid football at times, but they're not going to be a starter in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So the list of guys, the first guy is Jeremiah Attaochu. He came from the Broncos, a little pass rusher.
Right. I was kind of worried, though, when they first signed that guy because I thought it was the same guy that my son-in-law always talks about, that he holds a lot. So I was kind of worried about that one.
Yeah, so good news for Bears fans is that guy is named Garrett Bowles, and he's the left tackle. So
Got it.
even though we need a left tackle, we do not want him. Not that one. So we signed him to 2 years. He'll be a nice rotational piece, maybe for Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack. Obviously, Mingo signed with the Falcons, so we replaced Mingo with Attaochu. So I think it's a solid signing. The second guy is Christian Jones, back for his second stint after leaving for Detroit for a couple years. I was upset when they let him go the first time. So
Right. I'm really excited to have Christian Jones back, man, because I always thought that he was a pretty good piece. I mean, the guy is 6'4".
Yeah.
He's big. He can run. He can sideline to sideline. So I was really sad when he left, too, but it's good to have him back.
And he plays inside linebacker, so it's good to have a guy of his caliber as a rotational piece because our inside linebacker depth is not very good.
Right.
So obviously behind Danny Trevathan and Roquan Smith, we needed another piece to come in and be a backup.
Exactly.
So the third person is Desmond Trufant, which I'm guessing this was more of a Kyle Fuller replacement. Some guy that we got pretty cheap for a year. Desmond Trufant's a pretty good player. Has struggled with injuries, but when he's healthy, he's been solid. So.
Oh yeah, he's a solid piece. He was solid. I mean, when he's with the Atlanta Falcons, man. But I hate to see Kyle Fuller go, man. But I'm kind of upset with Kyle Fuller, man, because I just feel like he just didn't want to stay with the Bears because they asked him to take a pay cut, and he chose not to. And then he goes and signs for $9 million with Denver. So I don't understand that.
That just shows that he didn't want to be a Bear anymore, which obviously Eddie Jackson was upset with the Bears, Cordell Patterson, whatever. He's not even a Bear, but they were both upset. But they should have been upset with Kyle Fuller because we asked him to take a pay cut. He didn't. And I think the pay cut we asked him to take was down to like $11 million.
Right.
And you just go sign a 1-year deal for $9.5 million with the Broncos. So that's a totally different subject, but you have a right to be angry, which, So the fourth guy that we signed this week is Elijah Wilkinson. He's also from the Denver Broncos. So obviously, we're swapping players here. He is a tackle or a guard. I think he can play either or. Another guy that we signed for a year. He's not a guy that's going to blow you out of the water and be able to start, but he's also a guy that's not going to kill you if he has to come in and replace one of our starters. So I think it's a solid pickup.
See, now that was the guy I was talking to. I didn't know that we was talking about the outside backer first. The guy that we just mentioned, that's the guy I was worried about because I knew that we had got an offensive lineman from Denver, but I didn't want the guy that was always holding. Like every time a flag came out, it was 72.
Good enough for us, or lucky enough for us that Garrett Bowles for the Broncos is actually one of their better linemen. So they actually extended him, I think, last year.
Right.
So I don't know how that worked out. He had a bounce back year, extended him, good for him, but I didn't want him on the Bears. So, yeah, Elijah Wilkinson will be a good little rotational piece for Chicago. The next guy, this is actually a splash signing for Chicago. Splash. Damian Williams, a Super Bowl hero.
Right.
From the Kansas City Chiefs. He took over that Super Bowl. He had 2 touchdowns that game, and he set himself apart. And I believe the big deal for him was that he was something about being an undrafted free agent, running back to win the Super, something like that.
Right.
But he balled out. Obviously, he opted out because COVID. But he is back, and he's back with the Bears.
Yeah, that's a really good signing for the Bears. And as you see, most of these pieces are offensively, and no, I take that back. A lot of it is defensively. So you can kind of see where the draft is going to go. Right.
And we talked about that last week on the podcast. It's like, what are the Chicago Bears doing? What is their direction? You're starting to see what their direction actually is. Even though some Bears fans may not notice it right now, I think we're setting ourselves up to go all offense in the draft, meaning tackle, weapons, more tackle. It's going to be a lot of offensive linemen. So don't be upset when it's all offensive linemen. So a couple of key re-signs for the Chicago Bears this week was DeAndre Houston Carson, and then we re-signed Artie Burns. Obviously, Artie Burns made it to training camp last year. He was supposed to be that second cornerback, I believe, but he tore his ACL. He was hurt. They're giving him another chance. And, of course, DHC, big re-signing. He played some quality football when he came in. So I think that's a big re-sign for the Bears.
Usually when we ran the dime package, man, when you run a dime package, you have a little bit more safeties, more corners and stuff like that. And we also brought back Bush also.
Right, Deion Bush. I totally forgot to mention him. Deion Bush, DHC. Not only are they good rotational pieces, could possibly be the next starter at safety for us since we're looking for a strong safety, but great special teamers. So that's why it's important to bring guys back like that. But the Chicago Bears also made, and this is where it's going to get juicy today on Geek on the Mic. They made one other move that Bears fans were pissed about, which I wasn't really pissed. I was just like, okay, whatever.
Right.
They decided to post on social media Andy Dalton in a Bears uniform, and it said QB1. It didn't say anything else. It just said QB1.
Right.
Bears fans went nuts. So I just want to ask you your take on that post. You don't have social media, so you found out from me, basically.
Right. Well, it's like, Bears fan, I don't know why you guys are surprised about this. I mean, I have a list here that this has been going on for years. I mean, the Mike Glennon deal, 3 years, $45 million. I mean, then you signed the butt fumble guy, Mark Sanchez.
The butt fumble.
1 year, $2 million. And then, of course, Mitchell.
Okay, Yeah, okay.
And then Chase Daniels. I mean, that dude is just going from team to team, just cleaning up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, Nick Foles, the 3 year, $24 million. And a 4th-round pick.
Right.
The one thing, and I've always told you this, the one thing that hurts me about the Mitchell Trubisky thing is not only did we move up, but we gave 4 picks away.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think, I'm not saying that I'm a Mitchell Trubisky fan, but I'm just saying that I think if we wouldn't have gave up all that capital,
it would have been different.
I would have felt a little bit better.
A little better.
But since we gave up so much capital, and he didn't, pan out, which it wasn't his fault. He wasn't asked to pick by the Bears. So that's what I always look at. He wasn't asked to pick by the Bears. And then last but not least is Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
The Red Rifle. I mean.
Yeah. Ryan Pace sure knows how to pick some goats. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
he sure knows how to pick them.
Right.
You know, Mitchell Trubisky, a nice kid. You know, we're about the same age, so
Right.
I understand the pressure he was coming into. He didn't ask to be picked by the Chicago Bears, but hey, he did. When you're the number 2 overall pick, you're expected to produce right away. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to let Glidden play.
Right.
He couldn't handle his own. So Mitchell Trubisky was forced in there. Another thing about Mitchell Trubisky is that he just could not read a defense.
Right.
That's why it was hard for me to support him.
Right. And that's his biggest thing. Well, I take it back. That and Mitchell Trubisky has to get a backbone. He's got to stop worrying about what people are saying about him and just
Right.
go out there and play. You got to have that swagger. You got to – I don't care what you're going to say. Sort of like how Jay Cutler didn't care. Jay Cutler go throw an interception and go on the sideline and smoke a cigarette.
Right.
He didn't care.
Right. And that list is important for this question I'm about to ask you and, of course, the Bears fans on today's topic on the podcast. So the question of the day, and I want you guys to answer below. Bring it to us. We want to hear your responses. Should the Chicago Bears give up on Russell Wilson? And it actually correlates to what we're talking about now.
Right.
They named Andy Dalton QB1. Okay, it went right over my shoulder.
Right.
Right over my head because, okay, you can do that with anybody.
Right.
Okay, we said Mike Glennon was QB1. He started 4 games.
Right.
Okay. So should the Chicago Bears give up hope on Russell Wilson?
Absolutely not. I mean, why would you give up to keep making your team better? Like, you got to keep doing what you need to do to make this team better to get us in the playoffs every single year instead of going to the playoffs, missing, going to the playoffs. So, no, you don't give up. And the reason why you don't give up, because everybody gave up on us when we were saying, oh, we're going to get Khalil Mack. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Right.
What happened? I ran in your room that morning, Saturday morning, said, we got him.
Right.
Ryan, one thing about Ryan Pace, I don't like him. I don't trust him, but
Yeah.
he's sneaky.
Yeah.
He's very sneaky. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's still going to try to get Russell Wilson and ship Andy Dalton as part of the package to that team.
Which you'll still be QB1.
Right.
You know, so we weren't technically
Right.
lying to you. You're
Right.
still going to be quarterback 1 in Seattle.
It's almost like how Alshon Jeffrey said, we're going to win the Super Bowl next year.
But he didn't say the team.
But he didn't say the team.
He's
But
like-
then, you know?
He's like, I never said a team.
Right. Exactly.
It's the
So-
same situation.
So, no, you don't give up on trying to make your team better.
A couple of things. First, Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack was traded a week before week 1.
Yep.
So that's why with the Russell Wilson thing, they declined us once.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. We moved on. But then reports after they declined us is that the Bears are still keeping tabs on them. Because here's the thing. Seattle never came out and said, he's our quarterback.
Right.
None of that. And another thing about the Andy Dalton with the QB1 post, which all the analysts have been saying all week. It's not like Chicago has Andy Dalton framed pictures all around Hallis Hall.
Right.
It's just a post.
Right.
Social media is very powerful.
Oh, very.
And that's the problem with social media is that,
That's why I don't mess with it.
yeah, you can believe anything anyone says, which
Right.
it was on the Chicago Bears main page. So I get why fans are freaking out. But I wouldn't give up hope on Russell Wilson either.
But the problem is, he is quarterback 1.
He is right now. He
I
is.
mean,
Yeah, it's
him
true.
or Nick Foles. Take
Yeah.
your pick. Andy Dalton is quarterback 1 right now, people. Relax, calm down, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, he's quarterback 1 right now.
Yeah. So adding to my point with saying not to give up on Russell Wilson, they're thinking that a third team needs to be involved in the trade to make this trade happen. That team that has been rumored is the Jets.
Right.
Apparently, Pete Carroll likes Sam Darnold,
Right.
but the Jets say that they're not giving up Sam Darnold. They want to keep him. If that rumor is true, then this trade is probably over.
Right.
We need the Jets to be willing to trade Sam Darnold
Right.
in order for a trade to happen, basically.
Well, unless that GM gets some nuts and tell Pete Carroll that you're the coach and not the GM, and I'm going to do what I need to do what's best for this team, because you got to understand. Yeah, I get that Russell probably has another 5 years.
Right.
But, I mean, when else will you get 3 first-round picks? So that's meaning you're going to have 2 first-round picks for the next 3 years.
Right. So it's like Pete Carroll. You need to continue to chewing your gum obnoxiously.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not the GM.
Right.
Right? Like you said, GM needs to get some nuts.
Right.
And here's my other point. We talked about this many times during this week. Ryan Pace has to step back from being desperate, and he also needs to grow some nuts.
Yes, he does.
You need to play hardball now. I know
Right.
we're not in any situation to play hardball, but you have to act like you are.
Right. Right.
So we offered 3 firsts, a third, and 2 starters, and those starters were Akeem Hicks and Kyle Fuller.
Right.
When we negotiate again with the Seahawks, if it happens, this time you lost the first round now. So now you're only getting 2 firsts, which those 2 firsts are going to be future first rounders,
Right.
and you're only getting 1 starter, if that. Maybe you're not even getting any starters anymore. You're just going to get a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, but it's just like I told you the other day, man. The report that I had read was now the new offer was 2 first-round picks and
yeah.
and Roquan Smith.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah.
don't get me wrong. I love Roquan. He was meant to be a Chicago Bear linebacker, but when you can get a guy like Russell Wilson that would be your best quarterback that you ever had in your franchise, you can't pass that up.
Just like most Bears fans will probably sit here and say, oh man, losing Roquan would be tough. But I think I'm leaning towards agreeing with you because this is our only opportunity to get a quarterback like Russell Wilson.
Right.
If we can pull off a trade with like Akeem Hicks in the 2 firsts, that would be a home run.
Oh, yeah.
And we can keep Roquan.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I think if we did a poll right now and said, okay, would you rather send away Roquan Smith or Khalil Mack? I guarantee you most Bears fans say Roquan Smith. I think Khalil Mack still
Right.
is the backbone, that player that we don't want to lose.
And I get that, but at the same time, I think I would have to make that trade still because Khalil Mack is getting there up there in age. He still can do it at a high level, but you get up there at a certain age, man, Father Time catches up with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And these next couple of weeks, and I don't think this trade is going to happen. If it happens, it's not going to happen until draft.
Right.
Around the draft. So it may be on draft night
Right.
where all of a sudden it's like Chicago Bears trade for Russell Wilson.
Right.
Sam Darnold's going to the Seahawks, and then everyone will be happy.
Right.
And I think Bears fans have to be prepared. We already lost Kyle Fuller, but we have to be prepared, I think, to lose one more defensive starter if we want a guy like Russell Wilson.
If you want a good quarterback, you have to give something up.
You got to give something up, and it's going to come from the defense.
I mean, it's just like they tell you when you go gambling. I mean, if you gamble $20, okay, you might win $100, but if I gamble $1,000, I got a chance to win $5,000. So that's the same thing here with players.
Right.
If you want the good quarterback, which now you need a great quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
Right. You can eventually replace Roquan Smith.
Right.
You won't be able to find another quarterback
Right.
like Russell Wilson.
Right.
And like we like to say this a lot, and this is something that my dad has taught me over the years, is if you trade away 2 first-round picks, there's going to be no quarterback in the next 2 drafts in the first round that are going to be better than Russell Wilson at this moment.
That's going to come in right
away and help us win.
That's why when we picked up Khalil Mack and people were like, why you guys give up all that stuff? Because there was no one in there.
Yeah.
It's just like the one year that Khalil Mack still had 11 sacks and the whole Raiders team had 8 or 9.
Right.
So that was our first round pick, Khalil Mack.
So, and that's why I think if the Jets get involved, I think this trade happens. I truly do. And I think we just need to take a step back on the whole Andy Dalton. He is QB1 right now because
He is.
He's QB1 right now. But that can certainly change because the NFL is a business.
Right.
And things change just like that.
But just like I told you also, if we do not get the quarterback, I just need Ryan Pace to do the right thing since he set us back so damn far. I need him to do the right thing, and you need to build through the draft. You need to get some linemen to protect Dalton and Foles, whoever our quarterback's going to be, Because I'm telling you, if you put some protection in front of those guys, we have a few weapons, man, that we can get the ball downfield.
Right.
And we still got a great defense.
Yeah.
So my thing is, and what people got to understand, if you're a true Bears fans, you know how Bears fans play. For years, it's been run the damn football down your throat and play good defense. So I get it. It's a passing league now. But when you've been a Bears fan as long as I have, that's what I've seen. Pitch to Walter Payton left. Pitch to Walter Payton right. Go play good defense, Singletary, Richard Dent, all those guys.
Right.
And the 85 Bears. But now it's a passing league. So now we need to get that quarterback.
Right. Right. And I think if we can't get Russell Wilson, I would be content of still going offensive tackle with the first round pick. And then once we get to the second round, I may trade back to start getting draft capital.
Yep.
Gain draft capital. Yep. Because there's a guy, and I don't want to get too much into deep detail about this guy, but there's a guy named Kellen Mond that could be there.
Yes.
He's that type of guy that no one's talking about, but he could be a hidden gem.
Right.
We have to remember that Russell Wilson was picked.
Right. Third round. But there's a guy called Tom Brady.
Yeah.
6th round.
Right.
In the 6th round.
7 rings.
He ran a 5.0 40.
He looked like Jack the Skeleton from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right. And there's another quarterback out there that people are starting to talk about now, and it's Davis Mills from Stanford. His pro day was ridiculous, man. It was storming, raining out there, and he was slinging the ball.
Just slinging it, yeah.
Slinging the ball. But it's like you said, Kellen Mond, I mean, he's one of 3 in the SEC as quarterbacks to pass for 9,000 yards and rush for 1,500.
Yeah, and like you said, we have to build to the draft. Offensive lineman's always the way to go. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to build your team, get some offensive linemen. Maybe if Kellen Mond's there, you take Kellen Mond. Right. Then you get your weapons.
See, but to me, I would take Kellen Mond or Davis Mills, and they're gonna sit. Yeah. You're going to sit a whole year. Yeah. And Andy Dalton is going to be my quarterback. Yeah. There's nothing we can do about it, Bears fans. He's going to be your quarterback if you get one of these other quarterbacks in the 3rd or 4th round.
Right.
Andy Dalton is our quarterback. So if you protect him with the offensive lineman, I know everybody wants weapons. But if you ain't got no damn line to block, what the hell I need weapons for?
And just to clarify, just so you guys don't attack us here, what we're saying is if you cannot get Russell Wilson, then Andy Dalton is your QB1, and then you protect him. And then you can still get a good quarterback to build
for your future.
And I know you guys say, oh, we don't trust Matt Nagy. We don't trust Ryan Pace. We don't really either, but we have to. We have to right now. So that would be my plan.
You guys got to understand, we have no choice. We are just fans. We're not owners. If we were the owners, believe me,
we'll be all over.
He would have been gone. I get it. I get your pain. I feel your pain. I understand that. But you got to understand something. It's not worth getting your blood pressure up and getting all upset when you know Ryan Pace is going to be doing the draft. There's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah. Just hang in there. Like we say every week, just hang in there. Hopefully something good comes out of this. But do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, man, I just want to say, hey, just keep hanging in there. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. Bear down.
My dad is so positive. It's a good thing that we bring him on, right? Just to show some positivity. But before I end this podcast, let me know how you guys are feeling down below in the comment section. We take all comments, obviously, last week. I don't even want to call it hate mail. It was just like, typical emotional, upset Bears fans. You guys have a right to be upset. But let me know how you feel and what you think is going to happen for the rest of the Bears offseason. But before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram page at Keek on the Mic. And make sure you share this episode with Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back with the all-new episode right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys.
This is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan. That boy is Benny Hunter. Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.